Welcome back to Pursuing Justice. We are now part of Apple Podcasts. So if you want to listen to my podcast, all you have to do is put in Apple Podcasts on Google and the title of my program and my name, because I tried it, and it comes right up. I'm Harriet Hendel. Today, we are very pleased to welcome Jeff Smith. A few months ago, a friend and Jeff's cousin loaned me Jeff's book, which is called Mr. Smith Goes to Prison. I enjoyed it so much that I decided to invite Jeff to spend some time with us. It's good to have you on the program, Jeff. And I wanted just to read your bio so people know who you are. And then I would love to begin with your impressions of the book, since it really had a great impression on me. Jeff Smith is the executive director of the Missouri Workforce Housing Association, an umbrella group of 180 organizations that support preservation and development of quality, affordable housing. Previously, Jeff was executive vice president at Concordance Academy, a nonprofit that helps former prisoners, and a public policy professor at the New School, where he taught graduate courses on urban political economy, political policy analysis, campaign management, and legislative strategy. Before that, he served in the Missouri Senate, sponsoring and passing legislation on urban education, historic preservation, and family law. He narrowly lost a congressional race, as chronicled in his documentary, Can Mr. Smith Get to Washington Anymore?, which was shortlisted for an Academy Award. He's written 3 books: Trading Places, on U.S. party alignment, Mr. Smith Goes to Prison, a memoir, an argument for reform, and Ferguson in Black and White, an historical analysis of the town's unrest. He's published articles in academic journals, chapters in edited volumes, and op-eds for the New York Times, Politico magazine, CNN.com, The Atlantic, New York Magazine, and more, and the New Republic. His TED Talk on prison entrepreneurship has garnered 2 million views. He serves on the advisory boards of the Prison Entrepreneurship Program and the St. Louis County Justice System. He's earned a BA in Black Studies at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, my dad's alma mater, and an MA and PhD in Political Science at Washington University. So now we know who you are. So I'd love to begin with your memoir, but what I would like is to ask you to tell us the story of how you came to be an inmate at a federal prison in Missouri.
Well, thanks so much for the introduction, Harriet. Thanks for having me on the show. So how did I become a federal inmate actually in Kentucky?
Well, Kentucky. Right. That's right.
That's okay. It's a long story, but let me see if I can get it into about 90 seconds for you, okay?
Okay, sure.
I was running for office. I was a 29-year-old finishing my PhD, and I decided to do something crazy, run for Congress against the heir of the scion of one of Missouri's leading political dynasties. His name was Russ Carnahan. His father was governor. His mom was a U.S. senator. And my dad was a golf coach. My mom worked with kids who had learning disabilities. So I didn't come from a political background. It was very much a long shot campaign, but we built more and more momentum over the course of it. And about 2 weeks before the end of the campaign, as we continued building momentum, thousands of yard signs in, but no media would cover the fact that my opponent, Russ Carnahan, had missed more votes as a state legislator than almost any other legislator in Missouri, and had a very undistinguished record. So a guy approached my campaign And he said that he approached two of my staff. He said, I want to put out a mailer about Carnahan's abysmal attendance record. My staff came to me and said, hey, can we give this guy the information about Carnahan's poor attendance record? He wants to put out an independent mailer. Now, I knew that smelled a little funny. I knew that there was something not right about it. I wasn't an expert in campaign finance law, but I knew it was a little fishy. But instead of saying to my aides, why don't you look into this guy's background? Or why don't you look into the specifics of campaign finance law to see if we could do this? I didn't ask any questions. All I said was, look, I don't care. I don't want to know what you guys did. And they said, so should we do it or not? And I said, did you hear what I said? Just don't tell me anything. I don't want to know. So the entire conversation maybe lasted 45 seconds. They gave this independent actor Carnahan's voting record. The guy put it in a mailer, but he neglected to put the little paid for by disclaimer at the bottom of the mailer. That opened it up to a Federal Election Commission complaint by Carnahan. On election night, I was ahead most of the night, but then at about 3 a.m, I fell behind and I lost by 1%. Carnahan filed a complaint with the FEC. They asked me a week or two later in a letter if I could sign an affidavit regarding the postcard. And I signed an affidavit that had 15 statements. 14 of them were true. One was not. It said, I have no knowledge of who printed, designed, financed, or disseminated this postcard. And I rationalized it by saying, I told my staff, don't tell me anything. Therefore, I don't really know anything. 5 years later, after I got elected to the state Senate, I was talking to my best friend reached out to me, and he reminded me of all this stuff that had happened 5 years earlier. And he got me to allude to the fact that, hey, I actually did know something about that postcard over the course of several conversations during a month. And little did I know that for that entire month, my best friend had been wearing a wire.
Oh. Wow. So what after that, how did things proceed with charging you with a crime?
Well, the feds reached out to, they came and knocked on my door, and we, it's a long story, but basically my attorney reached out to them, and then I sat down with them and I admitted everything that I had done. And then they were interested in me wearing a wire to ensnare friends of mine in politics who they believed had done things that were wrong. I didn't believe any of their theories, and so I wasn't interested in helping them on their fishing expedition. So once that became clear to them, the charges went forward, and the prosecutor sought the maximum possible sentence for lying about whether I knew that my staff had met with the person who sent the factual postcard.
And what was the maximum sentence that you could have gotten?
I could have gotten about 3 years, and I got a year and a day.
A year and a day. Okay. So that is...
We tried. I proposed that I be allowed to teach for 2 years for no pay and coach basketball at a charter school I had co-founded in St. Louis, but that was denied.
No good. So you knew that you would have to serve your time, and fortunately it wasn't 3, it was a year and a day. How did you adjust to such a different lifestyle?
It's a good question. One of the great things about living a life as a politician is that you learn to kind of blend in with lots of different situations. One of the particular blessings of the district that I represented in St. Louis was that it is one of the most diverse districts anywhere in the Midwest. It was about 57% Black, about 30% white, 7 or 8% Bosnian, and then, with the sprinkling of Latinos and Asians as well. So my staff used to joke that I was one of like a dozen straight white guys in the whole district. But the point is, being in that environment meant that every Thursday when I came home from the state capitol, I would go to 6 or 7 neighborhood meetings, 2 or 3 in black neighborhoods, one in a heavily gay neighborhood, one in a Bosnian neighborhood, one in, maybe a very conservative Catholic neighborhood. And, I was a, single agnostic Jew. And so I didn't have, my background was not that similar to most of the people I represented. And that was actually like one of the things that made the job so stimulating to me, was learning so much about different cultures. My academic background, I had been a Black Studies major in college and had spent a lot of my childhood as, in gyms as the only white kid on my basketball teams. And so I was pretty accustomed to being in environments where people, didn't necessarily look like me, but I certainly, it takes a lot to prepare you for prison. What the good thing about politics was that I had forged an ability to get along with lots of different types of people and find common ground with them. And I think that probably served me well in prison.
Oh, I would think so, because I was going to ask you as a follow-up, what was most helpful to you during that year? And I think you answered the question. Is there anything you would add to that?
A few things were helpful. One thing that was helpful, paradoxically, were the circumstances of my initial, situation, which is that my best friend had worn the wire on me, but I hadn't done it on anyone else. Since some of that was referenced in newspaper articles, people, one guy in the prison who was from St. Louis, who had read the newspaper articles, was able to tell other people in the prison, this guy's all right, even though somebody wore a wire, his friend wore the wire on him, he didn't rat a bunch of people out or wear a wire. So the other guys in the prison, their kind of presumption was that I was an okay dude from that.
That's right.
A second,
no snitch. You weren't a snitch, right? Yeah.
Yeah. A second factor was that, like I said, basketball helped me, being able to go to the gym and play in the prison basketball league. And especially, if you're a point guard, then you're the guy who passes to everybody else. And it helps you, just like in life, if you're somebody in life who is assisting other people a lot of the time and they get credit for the big project getting done. If you're a point guard, you're the guy who gets the assist. You pass the ball to the one who scores, and you try to make it easier for other people to be in the spotlight and get the credit for scoring the basket. So my ability to play and even the position and style of my play helped me fit in at the prison. So both those things were helpful.
Yeah, they really sound like they were terrific. Now, the reality, though, of what prison is, how did that match your idea before you ever went there of what prison might be like? Was it a match or a mismatch?
Well, there's some things in prison that are nothing like the movies, and there's other things that are like exactly like the movies. And one thing that's in the latter category is the day you get there, there's like a walk, it's like Shawshank Redemption. You walk up the yard and there's tons of people on both sides just hollering at you. And they were all hollering like, 175, like 232, 044, like just these 3-digit numbers. I had no idea what the hell this meant. When they would get a connection, like one of the new people would have the same number as the person yelling it, then they would bump fists, and it was like a match. And so it took me a few weeks to understand what was going on there. But those final 3 numbers are the last 3 numbers of anyone's federal district court jurisdiction. So if you're from the Eastern District of Missouri, you're an 044.